board, Zillion, Lucian, Lysandra. Are there any first picks here from last patch that we just don't expect to see anymore? It seems like Urgot, no one's playing. Well, Draven also not showing
Well, we
up.
decided to first pick Silas, so that's not an option. So I don't know exactly, but I mean, there are a lot of options. You know, League of Legends has a lot of champions, so there's a wide variety of champions you can pick.
You already messed it up. You asked me
I'm sorry, it's really hard not to ask questions about champions. First pick here. Now, Froskurinn, I'm going to go to you because you can say things. What do you expect to see? Is it Karthus locked in?
It actually wasn't the Karthus that I expected to see. I really like Selfmade on high-impact junglers. Not that Karthus can't be high-impact on the game, but usually not within the first 3 levels.
So Karthus is like one of those junglers that is super obnoxious to play against because the clear speed is so fast that you kind of forced to play in a certain way as the opposing jungler. Either you're all the time invading on Karthus and trying to shut him down that way, or you have to match the farm mills the Karthus just takes over. So I think it's a pick that is fine for Selfmade. I think he can probably do more on more carry-oriented champions where he can playmake a lot. Karthus kind of evolves around your teammates doing a lot of the playmaking for you, so I'm excited to see how it goes.
Now, Karthus was tapped on the Q damage. Do you feel that really slowed down his clear a lot? You don't have to answer this question. Blink twice.
I mean, those kind of nerfs. I mean, so initial thoughts is just, I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. Like, it's just a small nerf. It's one of those nerfs from Riot where I'm like, why?
It makes people feel better.
Yeah.
He went from insane to good, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
There you go. From S+ to just S, potentially. Basically he became like the jungler that you can actually play against. So that's all I want to say. We'll have to see if Caedrel can play against him. We now see the rest of the picks starting to get locked in. Zoe going to be the early lock-in for Excel, setting special up for a little bit of a comfort pick there. Now we have the Kaisa and Alistar bot lane coming in for SK Gaming, and interesting to see both bot lanes prioritized so early. Now, we saw this in your game as well. There's a lot of bot lane prio right now. Yeah,
I mean, so what we see in the draft is one side has Ezreal and Zoe, and we all know, like, whenever they have tempo advantage and can set up the siege / like poke scenarios, then it's so obnoxious to play against. So I expect SK to look for more either side pressure with like a 1-3-1 comp, or a comp where they can just bulldoze and force fights. But yeah, we'll see.
Do you think because Ezreal and Zoe work really well with high tempo, they get to rotate into areas fast, they have the poke, that you're looking for more of an aggressive jungler from Caedrel, so you can kind of, you know, get that springboard, get that snowball going for them? Or do you think you actually go scaling and slow and match Karthus?
I mean, it kind of depends. I think since they're on red side and last pick, they can actually decide if they want to have the stronger side laner in the last pick on top lane. So it all depends, like, what kind of route they want to take. Like, do they want to challenge the silence? Then maybe you want an aggressive jungler that can do stuff in the early game. But I think for Caedrel specifically, he's a very versatile player. He plays a lot of stuff coming from mid lane before, so usually he pulls off something crazy, and I'm just excited to see what he pulls off.
He's got 10 unique champion picks, Caedrel there, including that Urgot.
Jace is, of course, going to be banned, limiting that last pick ability. Of course, never really want to play up against a Jace if someone is comfortable on it.
If you're super confident in just getting to those siege situations, last week we played against Ivern, and that is actually a champion that can do stuff against Karthus, where you're just basically playing as like the dog that shields people so they survive. It's quite easy to execute, so I think that was why Maxlaw played it. He needed something easy to play last week, so yeah.
I feel like with Sejuani, you kind of get the best of both worlds against Karthus, where you can have team fight presence or kind of like scaling utility presence, as well as some early game gank potential.
Yeah, I mean, Sejuani is just a frontliner here in this case, where he can soak some of the damage or from the enemy team and engage fights if they're in a good situation. So yeah, just a utility pick for the team. He's a team player. I respect that a lot.
And now we have the Kennen and the Orianna coming out. Of course, Werlyb going to take the Kennen to the top side of the map, and we see Dreams with the Alistar to set up the Orianna once again. This was pretty successful for the team. Again, their matchup against Vitality. And interestingly, I'm getting hyped because I just feel like Excel, you know, they're kind of down at the bottom, and if we were going to see a crazy pick come out, that this would be the team to do it. But knowing KaSing, he's probably going to troll us to the last second here. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Renekton now locked in.
So it synergizes really well with Sejuani. I think we will probably see Excel try to play in the early game a lot around the top side and play for the 2v2 top. And we said before with SK game, like, are you taking the approach of playing side lanes more with the Karthus? No, they decide we want to brute force with Kennen and Orianna and Alistar, and so we will see a comp where they want to team fight a lot and force fights, and Excel kind of just disengaging and poking, and maybe the renekton can take over side lane.
Do you think there's a time limit on XL's comp? The fact that they have the likes of a renekton, Zoe, Ezreal can scale really well, but you're looking at like Kaisa and Karthus.
There's this perception of Ezreal as a champion that doesn't scale that well. I actually think the champion scales very well. It just depends on a lot of how you play this setup and who has tempo. If Ezreal has tempo on the map, he can do a lot more than a Kaisa can. So it's all about how well they play as a team and how well they can set themselves up for success.
It's going to be interesting to see which of these teams now comes out on top. Thank you, Cold, so much for joining us as we do get ready for the game. You are now, Froskurinn is holding down your cough button, so you may leave stealthily. Of course, good luck in your game tomorrow. See you later, Jonas. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for SK versus Excel. Thanks once again to Origin and Cold, lending us their jungler. So we get a little more insight on the picks and bans, the story we're looking for. Set up on the top side, Renekton with the Sejuani, of course. A lot of potential there with the triple hit on the Empowered W to get things kicked off. Can't push your own cough button, huh, Froskurinn? Just gotta rip headphone users.
I was, sorry guys, I was trying to set the headset underneath the desk, but I can't multitask mom cleanup as well as I thought I could.
All right, you hear it. Crowd is alive. We are ready. It is time. Two teams going toe-to-toe. This is probably the last dance for Excel if they cannot pick up some wins this weekend. No doubt that they are the UK underdogs in this matchup as they go toe-to-toe with SK. A team that has been surging, a team that has surprised us in their rookie split. Time to see what both these teams can bring to the table.
And what's interesting to me, again, is like a higher level is just the differences that these teams find themselves sitting in. You know, you have brand new orgs or legacy orgs that are coming in, new buy-in into the LEC, and Excel seem to look at a lot of talent that... I was very confused for a second.
Yeah, okay. Not as wacky as we thought it might be there.
I was like, wow, gentleman's agreement. He's not going to hit him.
Yeah, no.
No.
The game starts at 1 minute and 30 seconds, Froskurinn, and I will take no action before that. It would be rude.
Oh, what I was going to say is the differences that these teams find themselves in. You know, you have SK, Legacy Org, they grab all of these new players. They, you know, take 3/4 or 3/5 of the members of the Mad Lions, and they just seem kind of like skyrocketing at this point, like making a possible playoff run in their first berth of LEC. Whereas Excel, they kind of go with some of the tried and true names. It's not as flashy of a roster, a lot of unknown names. They say, we got a 10-man roster, we'll start, you know, moving pieces around, and they've done some of that, but they really have just stalled out and not found the expectations or the same splash or flash in the pan that they wanted to.
And I mean, the records are an indication, right? We see the 6-6 coming in from SK. They own the head-to-head over Fnatic. Very solid start for this team overall. 2-10 for Excel. Have found some decent wins. Have looked pretty good in a lot of their losses, but just not able to make anything consistent happen here. Special, of course, a new name for this team was subbed in over Exile on the starting lineup, and hasn't made too much of a splash quite yet. Maybe that can turn around this game, but for now, Pirean remaining quite comfortable in this matchup.
And early on, when you were looking at Excel, you thought, okay, your win condition is probably Caedrel bouncing between Exile and Expect up into that top lane. But with Special there and kind of being the unknown quantity, just to echo what Cold's saying, I feel like it's going to be Caedrel and Expect all the time. And now that you have a Renekton on top of that with the Sejuani, I feel like their draft just showcases that. It should be all about the top side of the map and trying to get something going very early.
And important to note, new Conqueror, of course, if you haven't been playing the game recently, it was so powerful that it was hotfixed. We are playing with a hotfix version, but basically old Fervor of Battle with additional bonuses and that 10% of your damage is converted to true damage at max stacks, and you heal for the same amount as that true damage you deal.
Got some true damage, got some sustain. You want to go all in into combat and really stack that up and make the most out of it.
And of course, Renekton stacks it incredibly quickly. One rotation will stack it, and every auto attack after that just going to keep it stacked up. 8 seconds for melee champions, 2 seconds for ranged champions, so can see if Expect can abuse what is a very powerful new mastery, although very niche, admittedly.
Whereas Werlyb on the other side is going for the Airy. We've seen such flexibility and versatility in the Kennen keystones, you know, the fact that he's looking at Klepto. I feel like with the Airy, he just wants to abuse the range melee matchup and make sure that he has the known damage quantity of proccing that Airy every single time.
And for now, he's doing okay. Of course, pressure is still going to go in favor of the renekton. Cole the Meek is such a powerful ability in the early game, and renekton, of course, notorious for being able to take these all-ins in the very early levels. And the constant looming threat of Sejuani showing up and all but guaranteeing that instant stun is something that has to be respected.
Burned through his pots really quickly. Werlyb actually had a pot advantage until very recently, so really forcing that wave in up on the top side, but burning through all of his health.
And already things are off to a very difficult start for Excel. We just check in on CS across the board. The Kaisa Alistar lane winning out over the Ezreal early on, and Orianna in the mid lane getting a lot of early pressure. Of course, has a lot more AoE damage here before the Alistar gets a few ranks, but definitely a difficult start to the game thus far. And one of the picks that we always talk about when we see it on stage is Karthus jungle, and we heard Cole kind of talk about the two ways to attack it. You can either try to match its pacing in the jungle, or you can try to get aggressive, you can try to snowball faster, and right now, Selfmade jungling very comfortably. Sejuani doing what she can to match it. But definitely not going to be that champion that outscales and carries the game, even with a lot of gold in their back pocket.
Not necessarily outscaling in terms of the damage that she's going to output, but I definitely think the utility that Sejuani can offer. Cole talked about how she's effectively just the front line here, but again, it's the best of both worlds. You're not useless as a Sejuani jungle in the late game because of that front line, because of that massive utility ultimate, and you can actually have surprising amounts of burst damage in the early game and a lot of free gank windows. But I think the important takeaway is that everything is about the Karthus jungle whenever Karthus is here. So what does Caedrel do with that?
And for SK, everything being about Selfmade is never a bad thing. This guy is, of course, incredibly impactful. The question that we had in the past when he played this champion was, how does the team perform in the early game without him there to back him up? But for now, things are going quite well. Selfmade hovering on the mid lane does get spotted out by Caedrel. Caedrel may want to get aggressive here, but Dreams is now following up on the bottom side. Crownshot taking a lot of poke, but the minions are there to block. TP now coming in. This is a bold one. Werlyb burning that TP to come down to the mid lane. Still, of course, not too far away from the top side of the map, but it's going to miss a lot of CS here just for trying to force that.
And we'll see if Expect is able to punish that, not necessarily in the CS, but maybe in some of the experiences. Like you're saying, he's losing a lot of that wave coming in. The level 6 of renekton is so devastating, especially if he has the push priority to look for a dive there. So we'll keep track of that. Back to the question, what is Caedrel going to do around the Karthus jungle? And the answer seems to be try to set traps for him. He's very aggressive, constantly moving into the jungle. You can see him contesting the Krugs right here. But more importantly, he's getting down so much vision, and he's trying to hunt Selfmade and really punish this 1v1 matchup.
But Selfmade, of course, still out clearing, and this is the difficult proposition, is if you move in to invade, but Karthus still gets the jungle camps anyway, ultimately you're not going to get a whole lot. This puts Excel in kind of a difficult position. Their most successful games, we've seen them play very slow team games, although Pirean is forced to burn flash in the mid lane, so that is a solid start for Caedrel. And slower games is not something you want to play up against a pick like the Karthus.
Yeah, I do want to follow up on the flash, though. He managed to hold on to the cleanse, but again, that's not taking the teleport. I think it was very lucky for Pirean that the wave is still pushing into him. That special wouldn't get a freeze off, but Caedrel now looking top. This is what we thought was going to happen with the renekton. He's got that level 6, but Werlyb just on time.
Here's the important thing to note. The stun will be able to come through at that range, even if Caedrel can't get in position. Expect can, but the stun perfectly timed from Werlyb. Ooh, Expect, I think, a little too eager on the trigger. The second that came in, Werlyb got off the instant stun and denies any play there. It gets the ultimate for free.
Yeah, super well played from Werlyb, and I feel like this guy has really kind of flown under the radar when people are talking about SK Gaming, partly because Selfmade has just been so flashy and so pivotal for the team, and Werlyb has been mostly on tank duty. He hasn't gotten to pull out a lot of these carry-oriented champions. When you think about him, you think more of like the poppies, and so seeing him on a pick like Kennen, able to pull off a play like that, just more confidence into why Selfmade is like, yes, Werlyb's my guy, comes from the Mad Lions, he's coming with me to SK Gaming.
Yeah, I like the setup. He set him up for success so many times in the early week, and now it seems that he's doing much better even without that additional jungle attention. That individual play costing so much of Caedrel's time, putting him even further behind in this very difficult jungle matchup, and stopping Expect from being able to get any kind of greater advantage. Very often we see Tiamat itemized for renekton early on just to cement that wave clear, but is forced into the Merc treads here.
That said, Caedrel finally does have access to ultimate, and he's looking at Pirean without flash. There's also this bot lane between Crownshot and Dreams that are very far forward, so after Caedrel hands off this blue, depending on what Special's mana pool actually looks like, he does have a variety of options that he can still attack this map, even though you haven't felt that impact just yet.
So time is there. Level 6, of course, always a crucial point, but it does mean level 6 for Selfmade as well. Keeping our eyes on the rest of the lanes. Beautiful thing about being Karthus is you can just farm forever, Froskurinn, and when the time comes, you just push your R key, and you go on your way, continuing to farm. So we've hit peak comfort for Selfmade in the jungle. Still very difficult, of course, for him to move into the enemy jungle now, especially now that Sejuani has level 6. The threat of all-in is definitely much more real than it once was. But Crownshot and Dreams, quite comfortable. Jeskla, after what was a rough early landing phase, is now finally starting to get some of those Klepto stacks going. And this does give Excel a small gold lead overall. But the Cole coming in for Kaisa, looks like Crownshot is quite comfortable just extending this landing phase. And Crownshot's a guy that I think in the early weeks looked a little bit like a liability, Froskurinn, but over time has gotten better and better. And I thought at first that it was the difference in champion pool, but now recently he's been showing good Ezreal games as well. Just across the board, this guy really has stepped up.
Yeah, I got the opportunity to kind of sit and have some chats with Broken Shard, and one of the words that came to mind with Crownshot is this idea of confidence. RNAS spoke very highly of him at the same time and just said, you know, when Crowny or Crownshot has his confidence, he plays.
The immediate stun in, though. The cleanse comes out. He's trying to sidestep the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but it's not going to matter. Special going to get that one. First blood.
And it's exactly as we said. You know, Caedrel, he's got the level 6. Pirean didn't have the flash. He now also doesn't have the cleanse. And it was going to be a very easy call from Caedrel to say, we can just run it mid and kill this Orianna. But maybe they fish for more as that wave is still pushed in on Werlyb.
And Werlyb not respecting the potential for a dive here. Of course, Kennen has the ultimate available. Caedrel not spotted, despite what Spectator might indicate. Once again, getting you a little hyphy. Thinking maybe the dive's going to come in, but pretty impossible to dive a Kennen at this point when he has ulti available.
I'm actually all about this Spectator client.
Teases
just like,
you.
get in there.
Yeah, it shows us a more aggressive version. Now Expect is going to go in, though. Conqueror is incredibly strong in this exchange. Ulti coming out. Karthus, is he going to be able to grab and triumph? The heal coming through there is massive. And able to keep it going. KaSing, though, now in no man's land, so even though the ult was not able to find the kill, Selfmade's still going to get something here. KaSing running for his life. They don't maneuver to hit it. KaSing gets the kill! Are you kidding me? Oh, man, what a series of fumbles. The special now is the extra flash here is going to go forward onto Dreams. That's a sleepy Alistar. No ultimate available. Takes him down. Disaster for SK. Little fumbles left and right, turning against them.
We thought the Karthus ultimate was for the top lane dive, but it was actually for the bot lane dive in favor of SK, but Special turns it on its head, and it may be biting off more.
Pirean gonna try to contest
They've got
this.
Shockwave. They really need to respect it, but I love the fact that they, like, Excel came to play today. They're like, kills in the top lane, kills, or traded kills in the bot lane. Let's also try to force the Rift Herald.
And very quickly, the story of this game changed. Take a look back at this bot lane play. We missed the first half of this to the top lane.
I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna guess that it had something to do with Alistar having level 6 and Karthus ulting.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage. And KaSing, the madman, he will not taste the rainbow, folks. He refuses to taste the rainbow. Selfmade really going to try to force this one here, but just cannot make it happen. Crownshot dies to the better Skittle ads I have never seen. Special going to move in. And then this, I mean, this is going to happen. This is Zoe in a nutshell. The achievement here is hitting the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, the Paddle Star, just the icing on the cake.
I love the fact that Selfmade just faded away. He's like, I'm not body blocking this for you.
It's not going to happen, buddy. We're all doomed. Every man for himself. It's the Titanic now. You get off the ship. And of course, though, only a 1K gold lead, but 11 minutes into the game, it's pretty big. And renekton now being able to comfortably push in on the top side. We're not quite at proxy renekton stage, although Expect stepping forward may lead us to believe we could get there.
But because of the Cloud Dragon and the power of renekton at this point, it does open up that Rift Herald. So again, biting off more than they could chew because Pirean showed up with the Shockwave. But now that they have priority in the mid lane, you can already see that Special was cheating up over there. They had priority in the top lane. Expect had shoved it into Werlyb. Caedrel is like full speed ahead. This is a Karthus jungle. He's just used his ultimate, which means there's these massive windows that SK can't make an aggressive play on the map. Let's try to grab whatever we can in this.
And Excel going to find themselves with a very comfortable gold lead. And on top of that, a Rift Herald as well. And a Kennen who, if he ever burns ultimate, will immediately be dove. Maybe even if he still has ultimate. Expect is living up to the renekton expectations. Ruthless Predator, definitely.
And we just gave, you know, Werlyb, you know, he's kind of flown under the radar. He is a decent player. Well, that's a lot of damage.
He's a good player, but no one survives fed renekton, Froskurinn.
Or Expect.
Or Expect.
Established name of the league.
And it kind of was a question when we were seeing those Urgot games, when we saw the Yorick games, you know, obviously very strong champions. How good is Expect really? And definitely this renekton game shows a big commitment for his team, putting him on this very early game focused champion.
This is cool.
Pirean now going to be in trouble here. Of course, has the flash and the cleanse available. Selfmade, if he tries to come support this one, will just get murdered. Expect. Oh, waiting. This is incredible patience, but I don't know why that was the call. I guess doesn't know where the rest of the team is. You can see 5 members of SK on the top side. Actually, it's brilliant. It's mission impossible. Expect his now ulted. He has now decided it is time to fight. He has now decided it is no longer time to fight. Very indecisive. It's very difficult sometimes being a renekton hiding in a bush behind enemy lines. Luckily, his bot lane is pushing. They are getting turret plates. It's being traded on the top side, but XL remaining in an advantage state.
Yeah, so the call was cross-map. I expect stepping in the bush, but the fact that Jeskla and KaSing are getting so much bang for their buck on this tower, taking all of the plates, and now we're basically in a race for these towers, although I wish we could see top side. Show us who's going to win the race, observers.
There's back and forth. Plates there.
I'm going to say that Jeskla and KaSing are going to get it.
The legendary Karthus auto attacks are going to be the difference maker. Of course, the more people you have here, the harder it is to kill some of these plates, so I do wonder about the value of adding Karthus, who does literally 0 damage to towers, but in the end, does go in the favor.
Okay. First dragon.
Yes.
First herald.
Yes.
Only herald. First tower.
Boom.
This is not how people thought this game was going to go.
Oh, no.
SK, heavy favorites coming into this. We saw it on Twitter. All of the analysts except for Ramon backing SK Gaming here.
And we're not going to take him seriously because he does that every time. But normally when you see a team at 2-10, it's so easy to count them out. But this happens pretty frequently in Europe. We saw the H2K Miracle run, I believe it was last spring, to come back into playoffs when they were down and out. And I don't want to sell that that's what's going to happen for XL here. But I will say that every time it feels like a team is not going to be in contention, that they're not going to be looking to take these games, they do seem to show up in the LEC.
It just meant that XL were going to play spoiler, that we felt that they were really the blue shell of the league at this point, but teams cannot look past them. You must take them seriously. And we also thought when we were prepping for this, like, you know, how do XL win here? And we were like, put on the Gouda. Get some cheese, have some crazy picks. Maybe not Urgot jungle.
Like, the cheesiest. Like, put a burger between 2 Twinkies. That's how, like, degenerate we want this to be. And renekton Sejuani, pretty degenerate, so well played, XL.
I mean, the renekton's a little bit of a new thing to the LEC, but I actually think this is a pretty stock standard composition. It's just very clean with very clear win conditions and very easy to execute composition coming out of XL.
I like it. Of course, they're now just opting to continue to trade towers. They're just looking to, you know, up the pace of this game. Taking tower for tower, not looking to fight each other, just looking to increase the gold in everyone's pockets. At this point, Jeskla, of course, may not get the solo go here, though. That would be a bit difficult. And the tower will get taken down in the end.
So trading tower for tower. The big question, though, is who is going to crash in the mid lane here? Is that, hold on, here comes Dreams. He doesn't want it.
Yeah, that is a Black Cleaver red buff. And, of course, Expect does have ultimate now. They did not see him use it in the bush, so they could not have known that that was on cooldown for a while.
But I feel like with 2 members of SK showing bottom, this is such an easy call from XL, just to be like, put everyone, 4 men, throw everything in the kitchen sink into this mid lane and threaten it with Zoe.
But Alistar's on the flank.
Deep flank.
Keep your eyes on Shockwave. Where's it gonna go? Right now, nowhere. But they're giving a lot of respect over to Dreams. Now betting off, they do. That is going to be the 2-man knockup. We got Shockwave once again. Expect just going to flash right in. He goes under the tower, but that's not where you want to put him. Now trying to dash out to safety. Werlyb's definitely looking for the ult. The 4-man flash in. Lots of stuns, but is he going to be able to grab the kill? Expect's still living. Werlyb is not able to get anything, but here comes Karthus ult. Not going to do enough damage in the end. SK walk away empty-handed.
And how did Ramon know? Werlyb gets a gorgeous ultimate, but there's no follow-up there. So it doesn't matter how many people are in that Kennen ultimate. You had people dodging with the stopwatch on the Karthus ultimate, and no one falls down.
And that was when we saw pretty much everything coming together. But I got to say, we look back at this one and just feels like not quite the right timing here for the SK team.
And you can see everyone on SK is trying to crash down. So the call is, we're going to fight them. It just wasn't in that moment. Should also be noted that the Shockwave didn't connect with a lot of the priority targets. I believe it just hit the tankiest members, the Sejuani and the Braum. And Expect was like right in the thick of it. That's exactly where he wanted to be. Flash comes over the wall, right into Godzilla.
Yeah, first they knock him under the tower. And then he almost kills Pirean. And then he walks away, and lo and behold, who flashes into melee range? But our boy Crownshot, who immediately gets murdered. And that is starting to become a very difficult comeback for SK. Because the one thing that we talk about with this comp is, you know, you kind of doubt, you're like, Excel, I'm not sure if you can execute this comp. But once they have pressure, this was the thing that we talked about. Zoe and Ezreal are miserable to play against.
Yeah, and it's so important of the vision as well. And if you look at this map, it's been lit up like a Christmas tree for pretty much the entire game. XL, with all of that extra gold, have translated into a lot of control wards, have control of every area, which just makes Zoe and Ezreal so threatening because it's just fishing at this point.
Cheeky control ward. Well played. I want to know how long that one lives. We'll keep an eye on it.
Careful, Pirean.
If it's more than 10 minutes, it's officially nameable. That's the rules I've learned from the LCK, if it lives for longer than 10 minutes. I don't know if that's what they said. I'm just making that up.
What would you name it?
Hold on. It hasn't been 10 minutes yet. It was recently placed. At 28 minutes, we will name the ward. For now. They're just going to retreat. SK on the back foot. Not a lot for them to do. Ezreal does some damage. Does a lot of damage.
I believe the audience said, oh, amount of damage.
Friends in the audience, that's just a lost chapter. You wait for the second tier to come in. Jeskla is full in on the late game train. Double tier Ezreal ult hits like a truck.
And just to echo what Cold said, again, this is not, you know, like 2-item power spike Ezreal. He's got his Trinity Force. The double tier, he hurts and he hyperscales. And that hit no one.
That was a wave clear ult. That's where we just say it looked pretty. And don't comment on it otherwise. Expect remains a huge threat on the top side of the map. Werlyb can threaten with all-in only if he commits ult. But if he commits ult, his team will immediately lose the coming team fight. Follow.
And that ward is incredibly important, the one that Caedrel is stepping on, because it allows Expect to play that aggressive. And Excel are actually just doing a wonderful job pressuring both these lanes, despite the fact of that zoning shockwave.
Clear people can't see the air quotes. I can, but other people can't,
I wish they could hear my voice.
Sometimes you gotta make sure. You gotta let people know. That was sarcasm.
So because the shockwave did clear the minion wave, it meant that they couldn't pressure the tower, but Excel like still doubled down on all of this power that renekton has by shadowing underneath him. And again, this isn't an Excel that we really haven't been used to seeing. You know, when they do get their leads, it's because a team is over-eager, overzealous, and they just have like a sick reactive play. This is Excel being very clean in their proactive League of Legends. Was that the ward?
It's still alive. He walked past it. He autoed it once.
So we've got 8 minutes before we
He wants
name
it to get named too. That's all I'm saying. That's what we've learned here. Selfmade gonna grab the Scuttle Crab. Pirean now retreating to their own jungle. Oh no, don't do it. Don't do it. No, he doesn't even have a name yet. Why would you? Let him live. It will reject. No. No. They teamed up on him. It wasn't fair. All right, okay, that's degenerate. Let's talk about standings, because standings are important. 210 is the score for Excel. We talked about it. The playoff run, technically not impossible, ladies and gentlemen, but I will say that we're not going to hype you up for it yet. They're still a long ways off. For SK, though, losing here really bad, because the only head-to-head that they're really happy with right now is the one they have over Fnatic. So falling behind Fnatic by potentially losing here, and then Fnatic winning later in the day, that's what it would require, is very bad news.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is that SK are truly the Fnatic killers if it comes to the playoff race, because Origin and Misfits have really strong head-to-heads in terms of that really thick playoff pack run here, and it feels like SK, either they looked past Excel, or they're maybe not warmed up quite yet, but
I'm just going to give Excel the credit here. This has been a really good game from Caedrel. He's been everywhere he's needed to be, and okay, I forgot about the tower fumble when I said that. They did fumble that tower dive. You're looking at me like, how can you possibly say that? There was a big fumble on the bottom side.
But someone has to catch the fumble.
Exactly. When the ball drops, someone has to catch it, and Excel definitely did. Now this is a 5K gold lead 21 minutes into the game. Saving grace for this SK lineup is that they're only playing against 2 Cloud Drakes. If this was double Mountain or double Infernal, I feel like they'd be dead already. But a bit more time for them to maybe scale up here, as they do have a very strong late game comp.
Oh, that Ezreal damage is still disgusting.
And it only gets harder. Second tier, now scaling. Archangel Staff finished. Of course, Seraph's much more important, as it does convert 3% mana to AP. Currently, it's only going to convert 1%, but still a massive spike, so it gives Ezreal probably 80, 90 AP straight up with that item.
And I really love what Excel are doing here. They're not falling into the Baron trap. They know that that's the only way that SK get back into this game, and they're continuing to drive tempo. So they've got complete vision control between their bottom and their mid tower, and they're just forcing both waves, and they're saying, okay, throw out the Zoe, see if you hit the CC, non-committal CC, chunk someone out, then we can turn towards the Baron, but let's just keep attempting to siege on SK. Let's keep whittling them down.
And now that last little bit of vision is fading. Of course, the cheeky ward on the top side of the Baron pit is there for a little bit more, but if Excel have enough vision control set up as another ward is placed in that bush.
And they just need to buy time for Expect, because he's still winning this 1v1 against Kennen.
Dreams, willing to make the big play. That's the ultimate coming in. Now there's an Alistar on the flank, but I think it's going to be too little too late. They're just absolutely deleted. Jeskla popping off here in the fight. Werlyb now running for his life. Selfmade's there too, but there's Expect. Double kill coming in for Excel. They are destroying SK.
And SK are just late to pull the trigger. You can see exactly what they want to do. You know, Dreams is looking for this massive reach around. They want to get that Kennen ultimate. They've got plenty of wards to flank on, but Excel are just immediately punching them in the face.
Big fat punch in the face, Froskurinn, and now a Baron on top of that punch in the face. There's nothing for the Alistar and Kennen to do, really no hope of taking this one away, so it will be a 23-minute Baron for XL. And so far, an incredibly dominant game. We had 5, maybe 6 minutes of slow early game. Now it has just been bloodshed after bloodshed.
And again, look at Dreams behind this. He wants to go through the tower, knock someone forward, but as soon as Caedrel sees his opening, immediately steps forward and deletes Crownshot.
Yeah. Froskurinn, I'm going to be honest. This is brutal. Because you know for Dreams, he sees this one-man opportunity. He's going to find the flank. He's going to find the engage. But sadly, he's also the only defensive tool on this entire lineup. The Kennen ulti arguably as well. So when he's not there, Caedrel just gets to engage on whoever he wants.
I don't know if Alistar is going to be the dissuading factor when Kaisa steps into like melee range of Sejuani.
Look, that is the second time the Crownshot has stepped into melee range of people he shouldn't. So it has been a bit of a difficult game. But after that tower dive, I imagine it's hard to stay focused on this game, knowing that you threw away what could have been an early game lead. And once again, letting an Ezreal get ahead is absolutely brutal. Because this isn't even his strong point. We don't even see the Seraph's Embrace yet. Once he hits that point, he gets a massive amount of AP.
You know, I'm all for celebrating Jeskla there on the Ezreal. We talked about how strong Ezreal is, but look at Zoe. That's 5-0-2. Special kind of the unknown quantity here. You know, a lot of people at least knew what to expect with Exile. You know, high impact player, whether he wins you the game or loses you the game, you know he's going to do something. Special was the twist on this Excel roster. And finally getting to show.
Dreams now going to try to find the engage. Ulti now coming in from the Karthus. Jeskla in trouble. That's the shutdown. Alistar going to grab that one. Werlyb desperately trying to pull back. His Expect is going to run into this team. The dash. Now the pull back here. They need to burn through Expect, but he's just healing so much back up. Conqueror and Cold to meet, but they found the engage once again. Dreams with a beautiful headbutt pulverize, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Crownshot versus the world, but the CC is there, and they cut him down where he stands. Selfmade trying to find the follow-up. Does get the shutdown on Zoe. Portal jump, condemning him to death, and SK are holding on.
I feel like the biggest win there is that they ate up a lot of the Barons, and they ate up a lot of the tempo that the Baron had. So the tower will fall, but it's not like you're losing 2 towers or 2 inhibs. I think it's 1 inhib at worst, although, hold on, here comes a TP. Never mind, take it back.
Full committal to the play. It is KaSing here to empower the minions.
Okay, never mind. I was expecting someone a lot more powerful.
You were like the Ezreal, you're like, the renekton's already here. Who could it be? Could it be Jeskla? No, Froskurinn. Braum is here for 2 seconds.
That's like when you get an Amazon delivery and you think it's going to be like some amazing computer part. You open up, it's socks.
And to be fair, I feel like Dreams felt like he got the Amazon delivery here as we watch this play out, because you're going to watch a very beautiful pulverize in a few moments. Team getting cut down, you think, this is my time to shine. 3-man, Crownshot in the middle of everyone. This is his time. But no, they get outstatted. If they were even in gold, that play probably would have worked, but just does not in the end. And Special, portal jump, very not good idea to use against Karthus.
I just feel like we're using a lot of range, and we're putting it really close to champions that we don't need to be. We're portal jumping forward when we don't need to be. We're Kaisa ulting into Sejuani Braum.
There's a lot of melee play this game. It's not at EVO anymore, so you know you really just got to get it in here at the LEC. Just point blank, jump right into the combat. But it's a 8K goal lead for Excel, and it looks like they may just end the game here. Fantastic game from them thus far, and a difficult spot for all of SK to find themselves in.
And of course, the wider picture is then playoffs and standings. I feel like Fnatic fans can breathe a sigh of relief if SK fall down here.
They 3-0'd us here, but we might not have to fight them in playoffs.
Still trying to dodge that best of 5.
Ooh, oh. Special does a lot of damage. Ezreal. Oh! That's a clincher, folks. That, Werlyb's going to walk away from that one. Is alive. Sadly, doesn't have a Zhonya's either, so the team fights are not getting easier anytime soon. Kaisa does have a QSS, which will help. But once again, the sheer amount of repetitive CC between a Braum, a Sejuani, and a renekton makes it very difficult to get high value out of a single QSS.
And it's also how far Excel have springboarded themselves, not just across from SK, but across from the clock. You know, 27 minutes into the game with close to now a 10K gold lead.
Yes.
Expect is still quite threatening on this renekton. He got his 2 defensive items. I'm going to call GA a light defensive item.
For the sake of all of the aggro players in solo queue, we're going to call it a defensive item so they don't get flamed by their team.
The idea is that this renekton is still a big deal because the scary part of picking the renekton, of course, is the drop off.
Oh god, so bad late game.
But with the GA, you're right. He can just be that big CC bot and then just get right into the thick of it, and there's nothing that they can do to stop him.
And look, the reality is that despite the fact that Karthus does a lot of damage at this point, level 13, you know, has a void step, has a lot of that magic penetration, renekton gets on top of that guy, he still dies. Crownshot's still going to very much struggle if he gets into melee range, so I like the switch to building tanky here on the side of Expect.
Dreams is on another mission.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can we get the Mission Impossible song?
His step counter is crazy. This guy's putting in 5K every day.
He's got his Fitbit on. He is making the rounds.
Of course, what he wants to do is, he knows that the Baron's the last stand, so he needs to get his vision up there. But the fact that he just keeps sliding in underneath things.
And I kind of want it to work at this point because he's tried so many times. But now Caedrel on his own little mission, the one-man death brush.
Uh-oh. It's the dreams. It's the wraparound.
Oh, the wraparound. They're coming in. Selfmade versus the world. Wall of pain coming out. Caedrel now trying to break up the team. Expect is going to leap right into the middle of everything. Crownshot trying to make it way out to safety, but there's so much CC. Expect now knocked right back. Dreams with the headbutt to send Crownshot to his death. Expect now on a killing spree. Excel most likely just going to walk this one down. It's a nice Karthus ult, but it's not going to do too much. Does a lot of damage, but not going to kill anybody. And Selfmade versus the world here. His scoreline will not look bad at the end of the game. That is all the silver lining has on these clouds. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Expect does go down. Froskurinn, I wanted to build up the hype. I know what you're talking about. They are very close, but they haven't done it yet. Excel on the cusp of taking down SK, a 2-10 team, taking down a playoffs contender here in the LEC. One of the most dominant victories we have seen this split. 29 minutes, 12K gold lead, and Excel will find the win.
And you cannot look past this team. They can be more than a blue shell, the dream, the miracle run, it's still alive. But for me, that was actually just clean League of Legends play from Excel. You know, it wasn't about the Gouda, it wasn't about the cheese, it wasn't about those stupid strategies. They actually just played a consistent, solid game. Their vision game was strong. Their team fights were crisp. The communication was solid.
It was a good look overall. Fantastic engagement to get them started. The flanking coming in from Expect across multiple fights looks good. Renekton looking terrifying in his hands when he is able to find those leads, and really difficult game for SK. Gotta say, you know, small execution errors, a few of them back-to-back in an early game, and this meta where snowballing is so important can just cost you an entire game, and just feels like while they did make so many good attempts to try to come back into the game, it just did not work out.
And you feel like it looks like a completely different team for SK Gaming when Selfmade isn't on a very early game, impact-oriented jungler. I understand the idea of having the Karthus. We thought that maybe he was going to fall out of priority, but now that's two teams right in a row where Karthus has either been banned from blue side or priority picked from blue side. And it didn't work out very well for SK Gaming this time.
No, it did not. And huge difference maker would have been if one or two of those kills could have gone in his favor. Of course, was set up potentially for a double kill, but Triumph as well as Cole the Meek heals up the Renekton just in time, and he may not have even been looking at top lane. That might have just been a really nice start to the game for Selfmade in the jungle, but really impressed with a lot of the players across the board. We're finally seeing Special step up. Once again, Caedrel, I feel like absolutely has to be the MVP. Him and Expect setting the team up for so much success across the map, but the way that this Excel lineup followed up, and we saw so many members who had been struggling step up when it was their time to carry, when they had gold put into them, was a good and positive sign for their growth heading into the future.
Yeah, Jeskla and Special hitting the skill shots. You know, those champions look really good when they're on pro players that could make them look like targetable abilities, but a lot of time we see teams pick them up. They're hard to execute on. You lose a lot of your damage, but Jeskla, much better performance this time around.
Absolutely. Well, let's check out some of the highlights from Excel's impressive win against SK. Once again, massive upset. 2-10 coming to the day, now 3-10. And this is kind of the play where it feels like it all went wrong.
Yeah, fancy footwork from KaSing right here. I think he dodges out a bunch of Skittles. 1, 2, 3 Skittles. And then uses the stopwatch.
And then the important fourth Skittle.
Yep.
Right here. Yep. And Froskurinn. This is where it went from bad to worse. KaSing stepping forward like he's going to do something. I feel like just baiting them forward. And then the flash for the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. An aggressive move, but once again starts that special snowball moving forward.
Yeah, and Cold said it. We're going to echo it. When Zoe gets ahead, she is so punishing on this map. I was having this conversation with Ender, and you know, I feel like one of the reasons why you don't see Zoe really take off in solo queue to the same way that you do professional play is that solo queue is not about playing around vision or fog of war, but in professional play, that's pretty much the standard. And so when you have a champion that can be so abusive over fog of war, she looks miles different between what you're playing in your random 5v5s and what you're seeing at top teams in the world.
But giving us that similar impression of solo queue Zoe, which is that when she's fed, she one-shots you every time. So shout out to Special. Good to know. Well, if you like Special Performance or anyone else, you can vote for them as your Kia player of the game. You can choose between Expect, Caedrel, and Special. So that top side of the map where we're giving our power over to this time.
And I think there's arguments for everyone. Expect pulled out the renekton. Special was flashy on the Zoe, had the KDA to back it up, but I feel like Caedrel really was kind of the intangible. Even when he wasn't in the play, all of his vision control, the fact that he was always shadowing to the right side of the map, I feel like I would give it to Caedrel.
All right. Difficult call at the end. We'll see what you guys decide. But after the break, it's time for Vitality versus Misfits Gaming with Seiken making his LEC debut in the mid lane for Vitality. We'll be back in 4.5.